Alcohol nearly broke me, but midlife became my turning point. I'm Sonia, and after years of struggling with alcohol and drinking on a daily basis, I made the choice to quit. Now, in midlife, I want to share with you how I am not only surviving, but I am thriving. Alcohol started to become a regular part of my life at the age of 18. I met a boy, I fell in love, and he was very outgoing and he liked to drink. And in order to fit in and to become this outgoing person that I thought I needed to be, I started to drink and started to realize that it brought me out of my shell and made me not so shy. I was the girl that everybody would say to, "You're so quiet." And in order to be that person that I thought I should be, I started drinking and realized quickly that it made me feel good and made me have fun and just brought me out and brought me into the person that I thought I should be. After that boy and I broke up, I continued on with my life and I got married and realized in my mid 20s after breaking up and divorcing, I went on to live alone and live in my apartment. And then alcohol became something that I did because I was having anxiety with living alone and having anxiety with change. And I was stressed out. And in order to get through that time, I started drinking on a daily basis at my house alone. I had a successful career. I had a full-time career. I did very well during the times that I didn't drink, but as the drinking became more regular and got worse, that career started to suffer. I then met somebody and I had my son and ended up being a single mom and plus working full time. And the stress of that just brought on the drinking a little bit more on a regular basis. And I had to share custody with my son's dad, and that's when the big problems began because I was absolutely devastated at the thought of having to share custody with my son, my young son. He was only a year old. And for him to be away from me for a couple days to go with his dad was just heartbreaking for me. I had to do it. So in order to cope with that, I drank. I would sit in my house and I would cry and I would drink when he was away, and that somehow seemed to relieve some of the stress and the pain, at least I thought. So onward to that shared custody arrangement. As my son got older and I was still working full time, it started to become a regular daily habit due to what I thought was stress and anxiety and depression and things like that. But I was stressed from being a single mom working full time. At the end of a hard day, after he would go to bed, I would tell myself I deserved to sit and relax and have a drink. That became a daily habit. And every evening, whether my son was with his dad or not, after I put him to bed, I would sit and have a couple of drinks, which became more than a couple of drinks every evening. And over the years, it just it really started to take its effect on me. I started to realize that I was losing control. I started to become powerless over alcohol. Once I had that first drink, it was all over. I wouldn't be able to stop until several drinks later when I was exhausted or I would pass out on the couch. I would go to bed and normally just pass out and wake up the next day and feel totally ashamed and humiliated and hungover, sick in my stomach, and try to get ready for work. And I would be in the bathroom looking at my bloodshot eyes and trying to put my makeup on, but not being able to look at myself in the mirror because I was so ashamed at what I had done the night before. I had become drunk by myself and thought I would, as I sit there and drink the alcohol, thought I would solve all life's problems, and the next day would not feel like doing anything and be sick and tired and unmotivated to go to work. I wouldn't, but I would have to. I was a single mom. I had to work. I had to continue raising my son, and just came to realize that my life really started to become affected. I was still full of anxiety, even though I drank to take away anxiety. The anxiety became worse. I was losing control. My job was starting to become affected. And I was short-tempered with my family, and especially with my son, and I knew that I needed to make a change. The turning point came when I lost my mom. She had passed away, and we were very close. And I had been drinking, and after she died, I drank more just to get rid of that terrible feeling of grief. And from losing her, I was devastated. But come to learn that alcohol did not take away the grief; it just made it worse. And finally realized that I needed to do something about it, and I reached out for help. I found a group online, Women for Sobriety, reached out to a woman and realized that there were local meetings, and started to going to meetings and getting support. And I can tell you that was the best thing I ever did. So, asking for help from other women and realizing there were other women out there with the same issues was such a relief. I thought I was the only woman that had this problem. I was so ashamed, and it just helped so much to get out to meetings and meeting with these ladies on a weekly basis and realizing that you're not alone and you're not the only one. It wasn't easy. It was a journey, and it took some time, but you're going to know what works for you. And I realized that I tried to stop drinking alone, and it didn't work, and that I needed the support of other women that were in the same situation. So if you do need help, make sure that you try to reach out for support and ask for help. Sobriety is not just about not drinking. It's about confronting the reasons why we drank in the first place. And I worked with a counselor to work through that. And certain meetings that you go to, talk it out, and you can get to the resources and the reasons why. So if you are in midlife and you think it's too late, I promise you that it is not. If you want to go from just surviving to thriving, reach out for help. Ask me any questions that you might have in the comments, and I would love to answer them, and I would love to talk to you. So go ahead and click on my prior video and watch that, which is Don't Quit Alone and Finding the Right Support When Quitting Drinking, and I will see you next time.